Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. I hope all my viewers and readers are in good health and are doing well in all their pursuits. Kashmir issue is still at the top of everything here in subcontinent. The violence against peaceful protesters is still going on. And the good news is that Indian government has made an effort to contact that freedom fighters, their leaders, but ironically they were unable to find them in their places, as it is being reported by an Indian journalist that nobody was in home. Rather, the leadership of freedom fighters in Kashmir, they had kept their doors closed for those government negotiators there. Obviously, once the government of India and Indian Army is bent upon attacking peaceful protesters, how their leadership can welcome them in their homes. So firstly, that will be wise for the Indian government to start behaving in a normal fashion. People, they protest, they demand freedom in democratic countries. Though Kashmir is a disputed area, it has become disputed because Indian forces had occupied it in 1948 by force. Actually, in accordance with the partition formula of subcontinent, Muslim majority area, which Kashmir is, that should have been a part of Pakistan. Then Indian Premier, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he went to the UN. So UN General Assembly had adopted a resolution regarding a plebiscite there. Without taking into consideration the partition formula of subcontinent, British rulers, while leaving subcontinent, they came up with the partition formula that Muslim majority areas will be included in Pakistan and Hindu majority areas will go to India. And both Hindu and Muslim leadership, they had agreed to that formula. And that agreement was violated when Indian forces entered in Kashmir, which is a Muslim majority area. So now on the ground situation is that some portion of Kashmir is with Pakistan, which is called independent Kashmir, and some portion is with India, which here in Pakistan we call occupied Kashmir. So I by myself, I mean, my point of view is altogether different regarding uh, the perception of freedom here in subcontinent. Without civil and economic liberties, there is no freedom. But the general understanding here in subcontinent regarding freedom is that Britishers are gone, so now they are free. One more misconception which prevails here about democracy is that democracy means freedom of doing everything which is unlawful. Which is unconstitutional. So these misconceptions prevails here, and it is the responsibility of educated politicians. Though the irony is that we have standards for everything. For example, the doctor when he comes out as a graduate after doing MBBS, then he has to pass another exam to get a license and to become a practicing doctor. Same is the criteria for lawyers. But for journalists and for politicians, there is no criteria here in subcontinent. Anybody can be a politician, anybody can be a journalist. So, these kind of freedoms are called democratic freedoms here in subcontinent. Generally, when there is a democracy here in Pakistan, then the political mafias or political parties which are having no democracy within the parties, their members or workers, they take over almost everything, and they do not take constitution or law of the land into consideration while doing all these actions. Most recent example of a party worker which I had met, he's a office bearer of a political party, of a ruling political party here in KP province. And he has that, he's a computer seller, he has got his own shop. So while buying a new laptop for myself, I came across him, and he's a very honest guy. He's a good seller. But his perception of democracy was the same. When he was trying to know more about me, and then I told him that yeah, it is your party rule now here in KP, but the problem is that some people have entered in my office and they have told me that yeah, my contract has been ended and my honesty and higher qualification is no more required as a monitoring officer. Rather, monitoring is not required at all. And then afterwards there was corruption, and all of them are being, three of them are arrested, and but still I'm in home and my salary has been stopped. So that General Secretary, he has said that we don't need monitoring at all. Now we are in power in this province. And we do monitor everything by ourselves. We do not need any monitoring officers on any project or any government office because we will do it by ourselves. So I asked him, what is your qualification? I mean, uh, to be a monitoring officer, you need a huge qualification, then experience too, because not only you have to observe the thing, not only you have to monitor the activity of your fellow beings working along with you, but you have to correct them too. So you have to be a very superior being, academically speaking and experience-wise. So he said, no, I'm just a matriculate. And I said, how you can monitor a project which I was monitoring, because even it's the, the constitution of the project is written in English, and mostly I had to explain that to my fellow workers, even to some of fellow officers in finance department, that what their limits are and what is written there in the project. So I'm coming up with this examples, especially of personal nature, because I don't want to offend anybody and don't want to rather involve anybody. But the general perception of democracy here is that the party which came into power is now responsible for and is master of everything, and it is their rule, and whatever they feel like doing, they will do it. So actually, democracy means government by the people, for the people, of the people, within the limits of law and the constitution. If a party worker takes over the office of assistant commissioner, office of monitoring officer, then how the government will work smoothly? So these are the points which we in Pakistan have to understand. And I don't know, I never been to India, I don't know what is the inside situation there, but they don't have any democracy in their political parties too. Within the parties they do not have any elections. Here it has been confirmed by the election commission here in Pakistan that in 126 parties there is no democracy within the political parties. No elections are being carried out within the party system, within the parties. As I have stated in my earlier video, and I want to re-communicate to my fellow journalists working in India, that the factual position is that in the name of democracy, which is misperceived here, 1 billion people of India and 1800 million people of Pakistan are virtually are hostage of some political mafias, and those mafias, they do staunchly believe that they are the democracy. If they are in power, they are the democracy. No constitution is required, no law is required. Whatever they say, that shall be the law and that shall be the constitution. In India there was never martial law, but in Pakistan we people are our geographical situation, our geostrategic situation is like this, that our national security needs that strict action sometimes when our front line, our police force, when it becomes defeated by the external intruders. Often they initiate subversive activities in Pakistan. The challenges to our security, national security, are much more greater than India. So then our final defense line, that is Pakistan Armed Forces, they do take over everything. And many a times they did that. But that is not, that is beyond comprehension of our political leadership, because their thinking is that they do what they do, and that is democracy. Democracy, obviously, without the constitutional limits in a federation, is a fatal phenomenon. Though that type of democracy which does not tolerate any constitutional limit is not democracy at all, but that is the way of thinking here in the subcontinent. I'm saying all this in a good faith, so I don't want to offend anybody. We are all humans, and human is for error, and we can all be corrected. I do correct myself too, and my friends, they do correct me often, and I'm open for correction. If anybody, my blog has a ability to get comments on my videos, on my writings, and if someone feels that, and people often they do comment, and I do publish those comments, and I do correct myself if I'm at wrong. Though it rarely happens because I do my homework, and rather it never happened. Mostly people, they appreciate what I say. The literate people, and those who cannot understand me, obviously, either they remain silent or they say something which cannot be published. So I'm open to criticism. Everybody shall be like this, to healthy criticism. We shall keep our ears open and eyes too. So, just to correct the whole thing, I mean, obviously, there is one more misconception here, that one man will do everything here in subcontinent. A king or a dictator or a leader, that is not possible. As long as there is no awareness regarding the political system and its needs, among 1 billion and 1800 billion people of subcontinent living here in India and Pakistan, we won't be able to correct anything, because the system of checks and balances is always required in federal setups. We, both India and Pakistan, we are federations. And the classic example of federation is United States of America. So, if we take a brief view of their system, you will, we all will realize that nobody in America can behave in an autocratic fashion or in dictatorial manner. Say, for example, President of America, if he issues an executive order, if that executive order is a violation of rights of the people can go through the people can go to the Supreme Court of United States, and Supreme Court has got the power of judicial review. Supreme Court can declare that executive order of president as null and void if it really is violating the rights of the people. Same is the case with the Congress. The Congress is not a political party in the United States of America. Congress is comprised of House of Representatives and Senate in the United States of America. So both houses are jointly called Congress. We do have a Congress party in India, and that is a political party. That is something else. So nobody is all powerful. The system of checks and balances is there. Democracy works in this way in a federation, because in all federations we have large states, we have small states, and we have to balance the whole thing, because we have to ensure that large states are not being cruel to the small states, because if they will do so, then the small states might opt for separation. So the Senate, in Senate, representation of all the 50 states is equal to two senators from each state, and the Senate is all powerful. So that is why American Federation is working smoothly since long. And we in Pakistan and India shall realize that we cannot have that system of checks and balances, though we are a federation. Why? Because we are having a parliamentary democracy in both India and Pakistan. In the United States of America, we have presidential form of government. And in Great Britain, which is classic example of parliamentary democracy, that is the unitary system prevails there. Great Britain is not a federation. So in Pakistan and India, the amalgamation of British and American political systems does exist. And American political system is a model of originality and objectivity too. Same is the case with Great Britain. Their moral standards are very high, so majority rule does not create a problem. And they don't have written constitution. They are morally so good that they observe all their political conventions voluntarily. They are also humans. We, the people in subcontinent, we are also humans. We bend the laws, we ignore the constitution, we fool the people. This is something, I mean, I'm not included in that group which is doing that. So, this portion of my speech is mostly, is directed towards the journalist friends who are responding me from that end, from within India. And one such female journalist has responded yesterday in a talk show of a private TV channel where our Pak Army journalist, our Pak Army General, now participating as a journalist in talk shows, was also sitting there as a journalist, as an analyst. He's a very brainy journal of Pakistan Army, is our pride. So her argument was was naive. I mean, something. Her approach was naive. When she said that Indian government officials were knocking every door and nobody was willing to talk to them in Kashmir. Once you're killing them, you're hitting them with pellet guns upon peaceful protesters, and you expect them that you will reach them and they will trust you and they will talk to you. The amount of hatred which has been created with these aggressive actions, 80,000 girls in Kashmir are being raped by Indian Army, and hundreds and thousands of people are killed in Kashmir, and suddenly there will be someone going from Delhi to negotiate peace with them without improving the situation, without pulling out the Indian Army, which is committing grave atrocities against the people of Kashmir. Indian government wants to start negotiations with the people of Kashmir. This is really something naive. And I don't see any hope in near future that there will be a sudden change in the highly educated people will be there in Pak within India. And in Pakistan, situation is a bit better, and that is why there is, despite of provocations from India, there is no third war over Kashmir. So far, but the amount of provocations is at increase from Indian side, and some of my sources have told me that war is now inevitable over Kashmir again. So it is not an ideal situation. Wars, I am not in favor of war. And as a writer, I do have a large influence within India. Younger ones especially, they do read my articles, they listen to my videos even, they respond to me. And I never acted in a biased manner. As a journalist, we are not supposed to be biased. We are supposed to be neutral. We are not supposed to take sides. And our duty is to, being highly educated journalists, our duty is to come up with solutions even. And even track to diplomacy within India and Pakistan is mainly is depending upon interaction between journalists and generals and politicians. So I hope that sanity will prevail finally I have already, in this video, I have pointed out the misconceptions regarding democracy which we are having both in India and Pakistan, and we shall clear our concepts about the system. And obviously, some among us might be power hungry or are more enthusiastic regarding politics, and they want to remain in power, uh, but are unwilling to understand the constitutional limits upon their authority, both in India and Pakistan. We have to find a way to make them understand their constitutional limits, their legal limits, the limits which are being imposed by UN Charter upon us, the limits which are imposed by Geneva Conventions upon us. We have to understand all this if we want to continue with democracy in the subcontinent. And now something is more at stake than democracy: our lives. We both, India and Pakistan, are nuclear states, nuclear powers. And if the same misconceived democracy continues here, I don't think that my sermons or my lectures or my fellow journalists within India and Pakistan will be able to stop any such eventuality. The way they are doing cruel things to each other, in Kashmir especially. In Pakistan, the activities, subversive activities of RAW, the consequence of those activities is martyrdom of more than 60,000 people here. And that is all due to the ignorance of Indian army, that they are not supposed to hit unarmed civilians, women and children by hiring terrorists and terrorist organizations within Pakistan. It is a clear violation of Geneva Conventions. These are war crimes. And all those who are ordering this, they will finally face the consequences if we all remain alive to see that. Because if the same madness continues, the ultimate consequence of it can be a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. Nothing will be left behind them. So despite of a hot weather and strange conditions here, I was provoked by some of my readers and friends to come up with a full-fledged video regarding all this, and to bring all of us into the real world. My throat is itching. Humidity is also there here, and call of conscience, it compels me to continue with the whole thing. So before ending this talk, I'll suggest that we shall be serious now, taking lighter view of things, especially democracy, political system, constitution, then our own actions, the misuse of power, which is very common here in India and Pakistan. At every level, and misconception regarding democracy and human rights, that can lead us to a very disastrous situation. It is high time for us to set our priorities once again, rather reset our priorities and start thinking about handling the situations of law and order. If that is there in Kashmir, we shall handle that in constitutional manner, in legal manner. We are not supposed to shower bullets on peaceful protesters. UN Charter also does not allow us to do this. All the officers involved in this activity are committing war crimes. Rather, they are committing crimes against humanity. So all this ignorance can lead us towards a major disaster. So I insist that our educated lot, especially those who are in universities, university professors, they shall be taken seriously, especially of those of teaching international relations, and they shall work as consultants with the foreign offices of both India and Pakistan, and universities shall also help to promote domestic policies of both India and Pakistan as advisors, because without it that will be very difficult to manage the disastrous situation here. Interestingly, American CIA, even that institution, the advisory help comes to it through professors of international relations, brilliant students of international relations. So the RAW and ISI, and especially RAW, because ISI is not, the ISI is not doing anything wrong, as far as my humble knowledge is concerned. In more than 128 countries, our armed forces men are serving in US peacekeeping forces, and there is not a single complaint of rape or of any wrongdoing of our soldiers and officers. And we have a disciplined army, and we have an educated army, and I by myself, I used to teach constitutional law here in a law college in Cohort, and some of the colonels and majors and captains, they are my disciples, my students. They used to attend their classes and they used to take their subjects seriously. So we are well versed with our limits, constitutional, our limits of UN Charter, and I hope that Indian side will also take all these situations, all these suggestions, into consideration. To elders, I am introduced to those who are strategy makers of Indian policies too. One among them is Air Vice Marshal Jasjeet Singh. I was a young student at that time of second semester of International Relations Department. General Zia had conducted an international conference, so Air Vice Marshal Jasjeet Singh, he came, participated in it, and we students of International Relations Department of Quaid-e-Azam University, we were the hosts of that conference. So our direct interactions were there with eminent scholars of the world, along with the strategy makers. So uh, I think that they still remember me, and especially I need the attention of Indian strategy makers, because provocations are very high, and obviously the press freedom is there in both in India and Pakistan, though naively Indian armed forces or Indian government have tried to ban the entry of journalists in Kashmir, in Indian occupied Kashmir. They have two Indian journalists have succeeded to enter, and they came up and they had confirmed all my assertions regarding Kashmir. The, the information which was narrated by me and which came to me through sources regarding atrocities there in Kashmir, and that has been confirmed by Indian journalists. They came up with lengthy articles, and that's why Indian government reacted through that lukewarm approach that some officials they went there to negotiate. Without proving your good intentions, how you can meet them, and things are crossing the limits now. So we all shall take this seriously, and as I have narrated earlier, that maybe it's a chance, it's a historical fact that we are now two separate states, but actually people both living in India and Pakistan are of the same origin or of the same race, and even if are of different races since centuries, their interaction is there. So the Nagas are married with Kashmiris, and so that Marhatas are married to Rajputs, and so that almost biological inheritance is the same. Uh, so we must not shed the blood of each other for no reason, and we shall come up with a solution of Kashmir issue as swiftly as possible and through bilateral means, because in Tashkent after 65 war there was no solution of Kashmir issue, because India was a largest buyer of Soviet weapons. So Soviet leadership was not in a mood to resolve that Kashmir issue, because war in India and Pakistan was going in their favor. They were selling weapons, earning big from India. So through bilateral means, we must have the ability. We can engage journalists, we can engage our university professors, retired and serving ones, and we do have contacts, I mean, especially university professors. Most of my professors, especially Dr. Rasul Rais, is having working relations with his Indian counterparts working in Nehru University and other universities. Though he is out from the university now and he's with a private university. And same is the case with Professor Rapat Hussain. He's somewhere in United States of America now. Probably he's back, I don't know. He can be a good source, and there shall be serious negotiations, and we shall work out the modalities of plebiscite now, and of pulling out of Indian army from there, because enough is enough, and I don't think that this situation makes us a laughing stock all around the world, because when I discuss all these things with my American counterparts, and then if you misconceive democracy and if you do dictatorial practices in the name of democracy, how you can be taken seriously in the Western world, in a civilized world. So we shall come out from this situation, and we shall raise the standards and standards of negotiations too, and of negotiators too, because everywhere in the world politicians are being assisted by the educated man and woman in universities. So there shall be a serious dialogue and a bilateral one. And the objectivity shall be there. With biased minds, we will never be able to reach it. Where we are at wrong, we shall submit our mistakes and shall try to correct that. And where India is wrong, they shall correct themselves, and they shall try to correct all that. And by this way, peace will prevail here in subcontinent. I wish all of you all the best.